The Portrait in the Attic. A romantic revenge story in 3 parts. Part 1, The Inheritance. Chapter 1, The Funeral. The rain fell hard on the day Maya buried her grandmother. She stood alone under a black umbrella, watching the coffin sink into the wet earth. The cemetery was empty except for her and the funeral workers. No friends, no distant relatives. Just Maya and the ghost of a woman who had raised her. Grandma Rose had been a mystery. She lived in that huge Victorian mansion on Blackwood Hill, rarely leaving, rarely speaking about the past. Maya had lived with her until she turned 18, then moved to the city for college. 10 years had passed since then. 10 years of occasional phone calls and guilt about not visiting enough. Now Rose was gone, and Maya was the only heir. After the funeral, Maya drove up the winding road to Blackwood Manor. The house looked darker than she remembered, its windows like hollow eyes staring down at her. The lawyer had given her the keys that morning, along with a thick envelope of papers she hadn't read yet. The front door creaked as she pushed it open. Dust covered everything. The air smelled old, like forgotten memories and secrets kept too long. Maya walked through the room slowly, her footsteps echoing on the wooden floors. Nothing had changed. The same heavy curtains, the same antique furniture, the same portraits of stern-faced ancestors on the walls. She climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor, then to the 3rd. At the end of the hallway, she saw something she had never noticed before. A small door, painted the same color as the wall. A door to the attic. Chapter 2, The Locked Room. Maya tried the handle. Locked. She searched the key ring the lawyer had given her, trying each key until one finally turned. The door opened with a groan, revealing narrow stairs leading up into darkness. She found a light switch. A single bulb flickered on, barely lighting the steep steps. Maya climbed carefully, her heart beating faster with each step. Why had this room been locked? Why had Grandma Rose never mentioned it? The attic was smaller than she expected, with a low ceiling and one round window covered in grime. Boxes and old furniture filled most of the space. But in the center of the room, covered with a white sheet, stood something large. Maya pulled the sheet away and gasped. It was a portrait. A massive oil painting in an ornate gold frame. And the man in the portrait looked exactly like Marcus. Her Marcus. Her fiancé. Chapter 3, The Face in the Painting. Maya stepped closer, her hands shaking. The resemblance was impossible. Every detail matched. The strong jawline, the dark eyes, the slight scar above the left eyebrow that Marcus got in a childhood accident. Even the way he held his head, slightly tilted, with that confident half-smile. But this painting was old. Very old. In the bottom corner, she saw the date, 1924. A brass plate on the frame read, Lord Sebastian Blackwood, 1924. Blackwood. Her grandmother's maiden name. Maya's maiden name too, before she decided to keep it even after the engagement. She pulled out her phone and took pictures of the painting. Then she noticed something else. Behind the portrait, leaning against the wall, was a small wooden box. Maya picked it up and opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them, tied with a faded red ribbon. And a diary, leather-bound and worn. She carefully opened the diary to the first page. This is the story of how I loved Sebastian Blackwood, and how he destroyed me. If you are reading this, I am gone, but my promise remains. The debt will be paid. Blood calls to blood across the years. The handwriting was elegant but angry, the words pressed hard into the paper. Maya looked at the signature at the bottom, Eleanor Rose Blackwood. Her great-grandmother. Chapter 4, The First Warning. Maya sat on the dusty floor, reading by the dim light. Eleanor's diary told a story of forbidden love. She had been a servant's daughter, beautiful and smart. Sebastian was the Lord's son, heir to the Blackwood fortune. They fell in love in secret, meeting in the garden at midnight, making promises under the stars. But Sebastian's family found out. they forbade the marriage. Sebastian could not marry beneath his station. Eleanor became pregnant. She begged Sebastian to run away with her, to choose love over money and status. He refused. Instead, he married Victoria Harrington, a rich merchant's daughter. Eleanor was cast out, homeless and alone. She lost the baby. She lost everything. And she swore revenge. He will pay, Eleanor wrote. If not in this life, then in the next. His bloodline will suffer as I have suffered. Love will become his curse. I will make sure of it. Maya felt cold. She closed the diary and stood up quickly, suddenly wanting to leave this room. But as she turned toward the stairs, she saw someone standing in the doorway. A woman, old and thin, dressed in black. Her eyes were sharp and knowing. You found it, the woman said. Her voice was rough, like sandpaper. The portrait. The curse. You should burn it all and leave this place. Maya's heart pounded. Who are you? How did you get in here? I'm Margaret, the groundskeeper's daughter. I've watched over this house for 50 years, just like my father before me. Your grandmother asked me to warn whoever came after her. Burn the portrait. Break the cycle. Before it's too late. Too late for what? Margaret's eyes moved to the portrait of Sebastian. That man destroyed Eleanor Blackwood. She used dark magic to bind his soul, to make sure his descendants would pay for his crimes. Every generation, the curse finds a way. Love turns to tragedy. Happiness becomes pain. That's just superstition, Maya said, but her voice shook. Is it? Margaret pointed at Maya's engagement ring. That man you're going to marry. He looks just like Sebastian, doesn't he? That's not coincidence. That's the curse working. It draws you together so it can destroy you both. You're crazy. Your grandmother thought so too, at first. Until she fell in love with a man who looked just like Sebastian. They were happy for 1 year. Then he died in a car accident on their anniversary. She never loved again. She locked this room and tried to forget. But the curse doesn't forget. It waits. Margaret turned and walked down the stairs, her footsteps fading. Maya stood alone in the attic, staring at the portrait. At Sebastian's face. At Marcus's face. She pulled out her phone and called Marcus. Hey, beautiful, he answered, his voice warm and familiar. How was the funeral? It was fine, Maya said, trying to sound normal. Marcus, I need to ask you something. Your family history. Where are your ancestors from? A pause. That's random. Why? Just curious. Well, my great-great-grandfather came from England in the 1920s. I think his name was Sebastian. Sebastian. I don't remember the last name. Why? Maya's phone almost slipped from her hand. No reason. I'll call you later. She hung up before he could ask more questions. Chapter 5, Unraveling Threads. Maya spent the next 3 days reading Eleanor's diary from beginning to end. The story was worse than she thought. Sebastian hadn't just refused to marry Eleanor. He had lied to her, promising marriage while planning his wedding to Victoria. He had taken her innocence, her trust, and her future. When she begged him for help, he gave her money and told her to disappear. Eleanor had tried. She left town, went to the city, searched for work. But she was pregnant and unmarried in 1924. No one would hire her. No one would help her. She lived on the streets, starving, until she lost the baby. The grief and anger consumed her. She found a woman who practiced old magic, dark rituals passed down through generations. Eleanor gave everything she had left, including a piece of her soul, to curse Sebastian Blackwood. Not just him, but his entire bloodline. Every generation would know the pain of lost love. Every descendant would suffer as she had suffered. But the curse had a weakness. true love, freely given by both parties, could break it. But only if they were willing to sacrifice everything. Only if they chose love over revenge, forgiveness over justice. Eleanor never believed anyone would make that choice. She died young, bitter, and alone. But she left the diary and the portrait as proof. As a warning. As a weapon for future generations. Maya closed the diary and looked at the portrait again. In the daylight, she could see more details. Sebastian's expensive clothes. The proud set of his shoulders. The cruelty hidden in his smile. He looked like a man who had never faced consequences for anything. He looked like Marcus. No. That wasn't fair. Marcus was kind, thoughtful, gentle. He worked as a doctor, saving lives every day. He had proposed to Maya with tears in his eyes, promising to love her forever. He was nothing like Sebastian. But the resemblance was impossible to deny. Maya took the diary downstairs to the library. She needed to research her family history, to understand the curse better. The library had shelves full of old books, but Maya focused on the family records. Birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates. She traced the Blackwood line back through the generations. Eleanor had a younger brother who survived. He had children. Those children had children. The line continued, parallel to Sebastian's descendants but never touching. Until now. Until Marcus and Maya. Maya found Marcus's family records too. She had helped him research his genealogy last year for a family reunion. She remembered his great-great-grandfather Sebastian had 3 sons. The eldest inherited the title and the money. The second son became a soldier and died in World War II. The third son, Marcus's direct ancestor, moved to America in 1925 and started over with a new name. Hartwell. Marcus Hartwell. But his original name had been Marcus Blackwood. Maya felt sick. She grabbed her laptop and started searching online for more information. She found old newspaper articles about Sebastian Blackwood. Photos from society pages, stories about his business dealings. And then she found his obituary from 1952. Lord Sebastian Blackwood died yesterday at his estate, surrounded by family. He is survived by his wife Victoria and their 3 sons. Despite his wealth and success, those close to him say he lived a troubled life, haunted by regrets he never named. Haunted by regrets. Eleanor's curse. Maya kept searching. She found the obituaries for Sebastian's sons. The eldest died in a car crash at 35. The second was killed in battle. The third, Marcus's great-grandfather, lived longer but his wife died young of a sudden illness. His son, Marcus's grandfather, lost his wife to cancer. Marcus's own father died of a heart attack when Marcus was 10. Every generation, the men in Marcus's family lost the women they loved. Accidents, illness, tragedy. Never old age. Never peaceful. The curse was real. Maya slammed the laptop shut and pressed her hands to her face. This couldn't be happening. Curses weren't real. Magic wasn't real. But the pattern was undeniable. The evidence was overwhelming. Her phone rang. Marcus. Hey, she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. Maya, are you okay? You've been distant since the funeral. Talk to me. I'm fine. Just dealing with the estate stuff. It's a lot. I know, baby. That's why I'm driving up there tomorrow. You shouldn't be alone in that big house. We can go through everything together, okay? No. The word came out too sharp, too panicked. I mean, you don't need to do that. You have surgery scheduled. I rescheduled. You're more important. I'll be there by noon tomorrow. Marcus. I love you, Maya. I'm coming. See you tomorrow. He hung up before she could argue. Maya sat in the dark library, surrounded by the records of 2 families bound together by love and revenge. Tomorrow Marcus would arrive. Tomorrow she would have to decide what to tell him. Whether to tell him. Because if the curse was real, if it had drawn them together only to destroy them, then loving him was the most dangerous thing she could do. But not loving him felt impossible. She went back to the attic, standing in front of Sebastian's portrait. In the moonlight coming through the dirty window, his face looked almost alive. Almost mocking. "What do you want?" she whispered to the painting. "Why are you doing this?" The portrait didn't answer. But Maya felt something in the room change. A coldness that had nothing to do with the temperature. A presence that made her skin crawl. She backed toward the stairs, her eyes on the portrait. Sebastian's painted eyes seemed to follow her movement. Seemed to promise that the curse had only just begun. Part 2, Secrets of the Past. Chapter 1, The Diary's Dark Truth. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay in her old bedroom, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Marcus arriving tomorrow. She kept seeing Sebastian's face in the portrait, and then Marcus's face, and she couldn't separate them anymore. At dawn, she went back to the attic. She needed to finish Eleanor's diary, to know everything. The remaining pages were darker, written in shaking handwriting as Eleanor's health failed. She described the ritual in detail. How she had gone to the old woman in the woods, the one people called a witch. How she had given her blood, her hair, and something else, something Eleanor called the price of vengeance. "The witch told me the curse would work through attraction," Eleanor wrote. "My blood will call to his blood. Each generation will feel drawn to the other, as Sebastian and I were drawn together. But where we had love, they will have tragedy. The stronger the love, the more terrible the end. This is my gift to Sebastian Blackwood. This is my revenge." But then, on the last page, Eleanor wrote something different. Her handwriting was barely readable, as if written with a trembling hand. "I am dying. The sickness has taken everything. In my final hours, I wonder if I was wrong. Revenge has not healed me. It has only made me more bitter, more alone. If anyone finds this diary, if anyone in my bloodline faces this curse, know this, there is a way to break it. Love freely given can destroy what hate created. But the price is high. Both parties must face the truth, forgive the past, and choose love over the sins of their ancestors. They must burn the portrait together, at midnight, on the anniversary of Sebastian's betrayal. Only then will the curse end. The anniversary of Sebastian's betrayal is December 24th, Christmas Eve. The night he told me he was marrying Victoria instead." Maya checked her phone. Today was December 20th. 4 days until Christmas Eve. 4 days until Marcus arrived and the curse pulled them deeper into its trap. She heard a car coming up the driveway. Her heart jumped. Marcus wasn't supposed to arrive until noon. She looked out the window and saw an unfamiliar black sedan. A man stepped out, tall and gray-haired, carrying a briefcase. Maya went downstairs and opened the door before he could knock. "Miss Blackwood," the man said. "I'm Robert Chen, your grandmother's estate attorney. We spoke briefly at the funeral, but there's something I need to discuss with you in person." "Come in," Maya said, leading him to the library. Mr. Chen sat down and opened his briefcase. He pulled out a sealed envelope. "Your grandmother left this letter for you. She instructed me to deliver it only after you had spent at least 3 days in the house. She said you would understand why by then." Maya took the envelope with shaking hands. Her name was written on the front in Grandma Rosa's handwriting. She opened it carefully. Chapter 2, Rosa's Warning. The letter was short but devastating. "My dearest Maya. If you're reading this, you've found the attic. You've seen the portrait. You've read Eleanor's diary. I'm sorry I never told you while I was alive. I was a coward. I thought if I locked the curse away, it would die with me. I was wrong. The curse is real, Maya. I know because I lived it. When I was your age, I fell in love with a man named James. He looked exactly like Sebastian Blackwood. The resemblance was so perfect, it frightened me. But I loved him anyway. We were happy for exactly 1 year. Then, on our first anniversary, he was killed in a car accident. The police said the brakes failed. But I knew the truth. The curse had taken him from me. I never loved again. I locked the portrait in the attic and tried to forget. But the curse doesn't forget. It waits for the next generation. You're engaged to Marcus Hartwell. I know this because I've been watching. I've seen his photographs on your social media. He looks like Sebastian too. The curse has chosen you both. There is only one way to break it. You must tell Marcus everything. You must face the truth together. And on Christmas Eve, at midnight, you must burn the portrait together while forgiving the past. Both of you must choose love over revenge, forgiveness over hatred. Only then will the curse end. But Maya, if either of you harbors even a small piece of anger or resentment toward the other's family, the curse will continue. True forgiveness is the only key. I tried to burn the portrait alone. It wouldn't catch fire. The curse must be broken by both bloodlines together. I'm sorry I couldn't be braver. I'm sorry I left this burden for you. But I believe in you, Maya. I believe your love is strong enough to end this. With all my love, Grandma Rose. Maya read the letter 3 times, tears running down her face. Mr. Chen sat quietly, waiting. Did you know about this? Maya asked him. Your grandmother told me there was a family curse, Mr. Chen said carefully. I didn't believe her at first. But I helped her research it. The pattern in both families is undeniable. Too many coincidences, too many tragedies. As a man of logic and law, I shouldn't believe in curses. But the evidence is overwhelming. What should I do? That's not for me to say. But your grandmother was a wise woman. If she believed this was the way to break the curse, I would trust her. Mr. Chen stood to leave. At the door, he turned back. Miss Blackwood, your fiancé arrives tomorrow, correct? How did you? Your grandmother knew. She saw everything coming. She said to tell you this, the curse feeds on secrets and lies. Truth is your only weapon. Use it wisely. Chapter 3, Marcus arrives. Maya spent the rest of the day preparing. She couldn't tell Marcus everything immediately, he would think she was crazy. She needed to show him, to let him discover the truth gradually. She moved the portrait down from the attic to the library, covering it again with the white sheet. She laid out Eleanor's diary, the letters, the family records. All the evidence. At noon the next day, December 21st, Marcus's car pulled into the driveway. Maya watched from the window as he got out, looking handsome and tired from the drive. Her heart ached. She loved him so much. The thought of losing him was unbearable. But the thought of the curse destroying him, as it had destroyed so many others, was worse. Marcus hugged her tight at the door. I missed you, he said into her hair. This house is too big and creepy for you to be here alone. I've been okay, Maya said. She pulled back to look at his face. That face that looked so much like Sebastian's. But there's something I need to show you. Something about our families. Our families? Maya, what's going on? You've been acting strange for days. Just come with me. Please. She led him to the library. Marcus looked around at the old books and heavy furniture. His eyes landed on the covered portrait. What's that? That's what I need to show you. Maya pulled the sheet off. Marcus stared at the portrait. His face went pale. He stepped closer, his hand reaching out but not quite touching the frame. Who is this? Why does he look like me? His name was Sebastian Blackwood. He lived in 1924. He was my great-great-great-uncle. But he looks exactly like me. How is that possible? Maya took a deep breath. Because your great-great-grandfather was also named Sebastian Blackwood. Before he moved to America and changed the family name to Hartwell. You're his descendant. Marcus turned to look at her, confusion and fear in his eyes. Maya, what are you saying? I'm saying our families have been connected for 100 years. And not in a good way. She handed him Eleanor's diary. Read this. Then we'll talk. Chapter 4, The Truth Revealed. Marcus read for 2 hours while Maya sat silently beside him. She watched the emotions cross his face, confusion, disbelief, anger, fear. When he finished, he closed the diary carefully and set it on the table. This is insane, he said quietly. Curses aren't real. Look at your family history, Marcus. Look at mine. The pattern is undeniable. It's coincidence. Tragic coincidence. Is it? Maya pulled out the family records she had compiled. Your great-grandfather's wife died at 32. Your grandfather's wife died at 40. Your mother died when you were 10. My grandmother lost her fiancé after exactly 1 year. These aren't normal statistics. This is a pattern. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. So what are you saying? That we're cursed? That loving you is going to kill me, or I'm going to kill you? I'm saying the curse is real, and we need to break it. How? By burning a painting and chanting some magic words? Maya, listen to yourself. You sound crazy. My grandmother tried to burn the portrait alone. It wouldn't catch fire. The curse must be broken by both bloodlines together. On Christmas Eve, at midnight. That's 3 days from now. Marcus turned to face her. And if I refuse? If I say this is all superstition and we should just forget about it and get married like normal people? Then the curse will find a way to destroy us. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But it will happen. Love turns to tragedy in our families. Every single time. Unless we break the cycle. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. This is too much. I came here to support you, and now you're telling me we're in some kind of supernatural horror story. I know how it sounds. Do you? Because it sounds like you're looking for a reason to break up with me. If you don't want to get married, Maya, just say so. Don't hide behind some curse from 100 years ago. That's not what this is. Isn't it? Your grandmother dies, you inherit this creepy house, and suddenly you're convinced we're doomed. Maybe you're just scared of commitment. Maya felt anger rise in her chest. My grandmother died alone because of this curse. She spent 50 years in this house, afraid to love anyone. I don't want that for us. Then don't choose it. Choose us. Choose to believe in our love instead of some story in an old diary. They stared at each other, both breathing hard. The anger in the room felt thick and dangerous. And underneath it, Maya felt something else. Something cold and satisfied. The curse was feeding on their fight. She could almost feel it growing stronger. She forced herself to calm down. Marcus, I love you. That's why I'm telling you this. If I didn't love you, I would just walk away. But I can't lose you the way my grandmother lost James. Marcus's anger faded too. He sat down heavily on the couch, looking tired. I don't know what to believe. Part of me wants to laugh this off. But I look at that portrait, and I see my own face, and it terrifies me. Maya sat beside him and took his hand. Then help me break the curse. What do we have to lose? If it's real, we save ourselves. If it's not, we burn an old painting and move on with our lives. Marcus squeezed her hand. What do we have to do? Chapter 5, The Curse Fights Back. Maya explained the ritual as Grandma Rose had described it. On Christmas Eve, at midnight, they would take the portrait to the garden. They would each hold a corner while they spoke words of forgiveness, letting go of the anger between their families. Then they would burn the portrait together. Forgiveness for what? Marcus asked. I didn't do anything to your family. Sebastian died long before I was born. You have to forgive Eleanor for creating the curse. And I have to forgive Sebastian for what he did to her. We have to choose love over the sins of our ancestors. That's it? That's the whole ritual? That's what the diary says. True forgiveness, freely given. Love instead of revenge. Marcus looked skeptical but nodded. Okay. Christmas Eve. Midnight. We'll try it. They spent the next 2 days preparing. Marcus researched the history, verifying everything Maya had found. He talked to his surviving relatives, asking about the family tragedies. The more he learned, the more he believed. The pattern was too clear to ignore. But the house seemed to resist their plans. Strange things started happening. Doors slammed shut on their own. Cold spots appeared in random rooms. At night, they heard footsteps in the attic, though no one was there. And the portrait changed. Maya noticed it first. Sebastian's expression looked different. Angrier. His painted eyes seemed to follow them around the room. Once, she could swear his mouth had curved into a different smile, more cruel than before. The curse knows we're trying to break it, she told Marcus. It's fighting back. On December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, things got worse. Marcus went to the kitchen to make coffee and found all the cabinets open, dishes smashed on the floor. Maya went to get Eleanor's diary and found pages torn out, scattered across the library. The most important pages, the ones describing the ritual, were missing. We don't need them, Maya said, trying to stay calm. We remember what to do. Burn the portrait at midnight. Forgive the past. Choose love. But that night, neither of them could sleep. The house was too loud. Creaking, groaning, whispering. Maya lay awake in her bedroom, Marcus in the guest room down the hall. They had agreed not to sleep together until after the curse was broken. It felt safer that way. At 2 a.m., Maya heard Marcus scream. She ran to his room and found him sitting up in bed, sweating and pale. I had a dream, he gasped. Sebastian was here. He was standing right there, and he was laughing. He said the curse can't be broken. He said we're going to die just like everyone else. It was just a nightmare. No. It was more than that. He was here, Maya. I could feel him. Maya climbed into bed beside Marcus and held him. They stayed like that until dawn, neither of them sleeping, both of them afraid. The next day was Christmas Eve.